Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Dr. Danielle Lord. I am the founder and principal of Archetype Learning Solutions. And on this channel, we talk about all things employee engagement. Our philosophy is simple: provide quality daily interactions, and you do that by engaging everybody every day. So that's our philosophy, that's our approach, and my belief from all of my experience in doing this work and work in leadership theory really tells me that engagement should be completely free. It really should cost you nothing but a little bit of your time and heart space. So that's why we say our 12 strategies are all heart-centered. So just walked away from a really interesting conversation today with two executives for one of my clients. And it led me down this path of managing up and as a leadership approach, if you will. So I had heard the term. Now, in healthcare, we use the term manage up very differently. In healthcare, manage up your colleague would mean that I was transitioning off of your care team for the day, and I was going to hand over your care to my colleague, Nurse Betty. And so by managing up, I would say, Nurse Betty is coming in to take care of you for this next shift, and she's got 15 years of experience, and she's just delightful and charming. You're going to love everything about her, and I know she's going to take really great care of you. So in healthcare, that's what we refer to when we talk about managing up. We are lifting up the spirits and the energy, the strengths, and all the skills and the wisdom of another person, a colleague. So manage up, I've heard it kind of bantered around, this idea of manage up your manager, manage up your director, whatever the case is. And I've always kind of thought, I don't know, from what I've heard of it, seems a little sketchy to me, in my humble opinion. And I knew that it was not rooted in anything scientific. And so now confessions of a geek here. Having a PhD in leadership theory, I do tend to follow what the scientific theory and scientific approach says about leadership theory. And I knew that that was not one that had been presented in any type of scientific manner. And so I never actually really paid much attention to it. I had an inkling of what it was, that it was about kind of making sure everybody else around you looked good. And so I did a little deeper dive into it this afternoon, because these two executives that came into my office were talking about how frustrating it was to have to manage up their boss, who was the CEO. So interesting philosophy, interesting approach that it's all about. I'll read here because I don't have it committed to memory. It is all about, oops, and I went too far. Went too far again. Okay, there we go. It's to build a positive relationship. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I think in our workplaces, we need positive relationships, and we certainly need positive relationships when it comes to employee engagement. Employee engagement is at the absolute heart of that. But this is about understanding managers' goals. Okay, I can absolutely buy into that as well, because in any organization, we should have what are called cascading goals, so that everyone in the organization really is working towards all of the same goals. But here's where things got a little bit dicey for me around effective communication. Managing up involves being proactive in your communication, ensuring your manager is aware of your progress, potential roadblocks, and relevant information that could help impact their work's goals. And then that's all in an effort to help your manager succeed. That all sounds great in the big scheme of things, but here's where things start to get dicey. And again, none of this is rooted in any scientific approach related to leadership or leadership theory. So if my whole goal is to make you look good and adopt your communication style and adopt to your needs, where's the reciprocity in this particular application of leadership? And leadership is a reciprocal relationship that's based on give and take. That give and take includes having good, effective dialogue. I believe I talked about the leader making approach, where we move from the stranger to the acquaintance to the relationship phase. And if all we're doing is making sure that we know how to effectively communicate with our leader or our manager, we're not ever getting to that relationship phase because it is stymied by us having to figure out how to best communicate with our manager, again, lacking any reciprocity. So I'm challenged by that when it comes to this approach, but also digging a little bit deeper into it. It really gets down to me as the manager, I'm always right, and you as the employee are not. You may always be wrong, in fact. And it's basically ensuring that you can facilitate whatever conversation is related to exactly what your manager wants, not what they necessarily need to be successful. And for executives, that can be very, very, actually for any employee, I'll just say, but we'll start with executives. For executives whom you hired to come in and do their absolute fundamental best because of what they know and their experience and what they bring to the table is exactly what impedes good employee engagement, because employees don't want to be stifled in their voice, in their experience, and they want to work to the top of their capacity. So while this might have been a great theory and great application, like a lot of theories I see put out there, it oftentimes gets lost in the translation, the effectiveness anyways. So I still don't like manage up, this idea that we're supposed to do all things for our manager and they're not supposed to do anything for us. So when I think about that in theory, leadership theory, I am reminded of the contingent reward theory, which falls under the umbrella of transactional leadership. And transactional leadership, sometimes we have to have it because there are times when we have to say, I need you to do this because, there's really no negotiating around this, right? There's policy issues, there's compliance, there's quality, there's safety, regulatory. So there are times when we have to say, this is absolutely how something has to occur in order for us to remain fiscally responsible. But that's really where the transactional approach should stop when we talk about leadership, because we know that the transactional approach in leadership is not necessarily the most effective. So that's the theory, and that's the transactional relationship piece. It's also rooted in a poor power dynamic, if you will. So a base of power in that I have position over you to say something that you can or cannot do. So under that transactional umbrella, if you will, is something called contingent reward theory that basically says, if you do this, your reward will be that. And so again, very much of a power base of do it because I said so, not let's have a conversation about it and see if we can get to a good solution. Again, very frustrating for employees, very disengaging approach to anything that is considered to be known best practice around leadership related to engagement. And that falls under the umbrella of transformational leadership, where there is a conversation, there's dialogue, there's relationship, there's pushback, tug and pull, or push and pull, if you will. I think where this might be coming from is from what we call situational leadership. And that means that in situational leadership, it means that we have to know our employees, and we have to be able to adjust our approach. In this situation of this manage up approach, it seems like the approach is you change everything about you to meet my needs because I don't want to have to change who I am to meet your needs, which is the foundation of situational leadership. And I didn't set that up very well previously. But with situational leadership, it's I'm going to adjust who I am and how I present things in a way that is going to make the most sense for you, my team member, not the other way around, which is what I see with this whole idea of manage up. So manage up, employee engagement, I just don't see there being a good connection to that. It's about putting everything on the employee in order to meet the manager's needs. And I don't think that's how we get to great teaming, great conversations, great dialogue in an effort to transform the organization, if you will. And I think it certainly inhibits employee engagement. And that was the root of the conversation that I had today with two vice presidents who basically said this idea of making sure that our CEO has all of his needs met over ours is very frustrating. And as I've always said, you can manage 10 people all the same way and you'll have 9 unhappy ones. So just a little snippet today on why I cannot support this idea of manage up. Now, if you want to take the healthcare approach and manage up your colleagues and share with everyone how great they are, entirely different conversation. That does drive engagement. But if it's all about making everybody conform to your style, so that they can meet your needs and you don't have to flex and grow in your own leadership style or position, then I just can't see that being an effective use of your time or an effective way to engage your team members. So there we have it. That's my little bit today. Sorry, again, my camera is dark. I don't know what's going on with it, but at any rate, that's my thoughts on employee engagement and leadership approaches and styles for today. So if this content resonates with you, I hope you'll like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, let's engage. And if you've had a different experience with this concept of manage up, please let me know. Danielle Lord, Archetype Learning Solutions. Hope to see you back soon.